Hello and welcome to BrandsNow here on Radionow 95.3 FM Lagos. My name is George Natural Onwara, and here on BrandsNow what we basically do is to spotlight the brands that are doing outstanding work in their field of endeavor. And today on the program we are taking a look at a very interesting guest. Well, I say interesting and you found out why. I think he's really interesting, at least the work that he does. All right, his name is Victor Daniyan. So Victor Daniyan is the CEO of Yourrider Limited, a company building the infrastructure for electric vehicles in Africa. And he's also a recipient of the Best FinTech Startup Award at the inaugural GTES Africa in Morocco. Well, it's a pleasure to have you join us this day today.
Pleasure is mine, sir.
All right, so let's get into the conversation already. Talk to us about Yourrider. What is it? What does it do? How did it come about? Plenty questions. Just go ahead.
All right, so it's an incredible idea that started roughly, I would say, in 2020. It used to be a logistic company, and then we transitioned into clean energy when we saw the need. But basically right now, what we are doing is providing infrastructures for other electric people interested in electric vehicles to leverage on. We noticed the gap, right? People are interested to transition from gasoline bikes to tricycles to cars, but there are no infrastructures. You can't fix, you can't charge. So when there's a provision for infrastructure, it enables people to, to get interested. And we want to foster clean energy in Nigeria. So we built in those infrastructures so people could, have the opportunity to have those assets in Nigeria.
A very interesting work, it sounds like, yes. But I am curious, is there really a story behind the driving force as to why you decided to kind of transition from, logistics and move into cleaner energy?
Sure. So roughly about 2 years ago, we're fully logistics. We own a few warehouses scattered around Lagos and Abuja. And we had partners, the likes of Konga, Jumia, and more. And then at a certain time, we noticed our revenue was not doing so well. And that was because of the cost of, transportation of goods and services. We talk about next day delivery services in general, last mile, first mile delivery services. And it was when we did our analysis, it was narrowed down to the cost of transportation. So we decided to go to own electric then it was bikes and maybe tricycles, and we're already ordering for importation. Then the big question was, how do we charge this and how do we service them?
Our challenge.
Exactly. So we figured out possibly that might be the same issue for a number of other maybe logistics or individual users. And this was really going to cut our costs like so much. And of course, it's environmental friendly. So what we did was, okay, we noticed there was a gap. Nobody was really ready to go into infrastructure. And it took us almost 9 months. We had the conversation with NNPC to say, okay, let's see what we could do together. And it happened. So currently at the moment we have roughly about 5 locations in Lagos and 5 in Abuja where we've co-located with NNPC to build electric charging stations for bikes, tricycles.
All the while you're speaking, I'm seeing a lot of challenges in my head, right? And I'm just going to start with this one. The adoption of electric vehicles, really in its very early stages here. How do you really cope, especially as your business? How do you cope with that?
Well, so we already knew that the adoption would really be low at first. So what we did was to also have other partners, right? First is people who would need to switch from, maybe gasoline bikes or tricycles to electric would need to purchase them. And it's quite expensive. It's more expensive than, of course, the initial purchase. So what we did was to partner with other financial institutions that could, help people pay over a long time. And we're working with an organization who is, looking at manufacturing locally here to reduce costs instead of shipping from China or from India or wherever. So those were the things we did. And I think roughly We have a couple of thousands of electric bikes already on Lagos Road
Interesting.
at the moment. Yes.
Very interesting. Now, you've partnered with the NNPC and probably some other organizations, and you've already built, say, 10 electric charging and swap stations in Nigeria, yes?
Sure.
Can you share some insight with us as to how this, infrastructure is actually reshaping or shaping the EV ecosystem in the country and beyond?
Great. First, I will talk about, creating job opportunities, because of course our charging stations have to run 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you talk about
that in itself is a challenge.
Yes. Getting people employed. We have to have shift, and also some people got employed to handle those stations. That first. Secondly, right, as regards carbon credit, we've done a number. Roughly, I think the largest acquisition of electric bikes goes to, I think, Max, currently in Lagos, and they have a couple of thousands at the moment, which is good for the environment, which are a few things that we've also done in partnership with them. And we are already working on getting more support on tricycles to reduce cost of transportation and, better the environment again.
It's interesting that you made those last points that you made about, tricycles. I'm curious. Tricycles these days don't come cheap.
Sure.
And given the purchasing power of the average Nigerian on the streets of Nigeria right now, I don't know. What do you think of this? Especially with the economy as it is right
Yes.
now, how easy do you think it is for people to actually adopt this, given the cost implication?
Sure. So I'll say a few things we've done as regards cost. First, right, to purchase a gasoline bike at BrandsNow roughly costs about 1.5 million at the moment, a good brand. An electric bike should normally cost roughly about 2 point something, but we worked to make sure it got as low as 1.9.
Oh, so that's competitive?
Yes, roughly 400,000 naira difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we are doing same thing also for the tricycles.
Oh, I see.
Then aside from that, we also partnered with, like I said, banks, financial organizations.
Because I was about to ask you about financing models, for instance, for somebody who is interested but
Exactly.
just cannot fund the money or fund
Yes.
it in one fell swoop.
Yes. So those are the things we've done. We have Nearpace come along. That aside, we have other banks. So what we've done is to provide people an opportunity to, pay over a period of time, 12 months, 18 months, and have these assets. Because in the long run, you would notice that you would cut off the bills from servicing, since basically there's no engine to it. So you don't have engine oil, you use that then also it's more affordable versus
You don't get to
purchasing
buy
gasoline.
diesel,
Yes, and also.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, yeah. But I'm curious, for a business like yours, talk to us about some of the challenges that you probably face on a daily basis, or maybe a huge one that you've actually faced over time.
Great question. So I will start with the elephant in the room, which when you talk about EVs, you talk about electricity. At this point, it's obvious that we don't have adequate electricity to even fund personal needs of citizens, not to talk about So it was a very huge challenge for us getting to have electricity stable, because when you have a charging or a swap station, basically what you are doing is you're selling power. And if you don't have power, then you have nothing else to sell. So it was a huge challenge. We had to work on spending a lot of resources in renewable energy, having panels. Cost more, but we had to work on areas like that. Additionally, we also had a little bit of challenge on acceptance. It's new. Why should I use an EV? What if I'm driving a Tesla and rain start falling?
Goes out or something.
Yeah, power goes out, or I get electrocuted driving an electric bike or a Tesla, because there are so many things. So we had to first educate people. These are what you should expect. These are This is what we have already made sure is available for your comfort. So this wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen, and all. And it was a gradual process, but I think we are getting it.
Yeah, interesting. Absolutely very interesting conversation we're having. But again, I'm also thinking as we begin to round off here, because we're pressed for time. As far as doing your business is concerned, has funding been a challenge, or perhaps for you everything is all smooth and rosy and whatnot, you know, or you have 1 tree behind your house that produces money, you just pluck any amount you need or something?
Okay, sure, funding has been a very huge challenge, very, very huge challenge. Maybe I forgot to mention that also. First, right, I was able to start off a few things based on a few organizations I've worked with in the past, so I had like a little bit of resources. I used to be in the telecom sector, so I worked like a couple of years, but it's a huge challenge. Majorly, I've partnered with a few international organizations that had supported but limited. That's why, like I made mention, we have just 10 stations, you know. Looking at Nigeria, having 10 locations is really, really, really small. So it has been a huge challenge, but I would say we are trying as much as possible to, you know, get the resources we need to scale, and most of it is coming outside the shores of Nigeria. I wish it was in house.
How easy is that?
It's a difficult process, I would say. There are a lot of things, having a company registered in, for example, in the US,
before they can fund you.
Yeah, yes.
While you're here.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I have a Delaware incorporation. I pay tax to the United States government. While basically I'm not doing anything there, but
boy. Just
because
to access
funds, yes.
That must be really tough.
Very tough.
Oh boy. Well, I empathize with you, but anyways, we need to round off the conversation here. Now that you've listed some of the challenges that you face, right? If you were sitting across the table to say those in positions of authority to take the right decisions to enable businesses like yours to get easier, right? What would you say to them?
Okay, so thank you for this question. It's super important that we see the need of providing funding for Nigerian startups or businesses, not even using the name startup, businesses, let me use it that way. Because you see, when we take international funding, they invest into us, we make money for them, and we pay them back, and they take the money off the shores of Nigeria. So if we can get local investors, the money still
stays here in Nigeria.
Which is very important, because we are paying back in dollars, so we pay back in USD, and it goes out to them, and they give it to X and all of that. So it's very important that we get local investors who would invest into Nigerian businesses. And of course, when we are paying back those interests, it still stays in Nigeria.
Very interesting. So basically create an enabling work environment for businesses to thrive.
Exactly.
In one sentence. Well, just before we go, if someone were to, before I even come to that, yeah, you're meeting somebody for the very first time, because somebody's just joining this conversation as we're rounding off. So what would you say to them is your business about in, say, 1 or 2 sentences? What is your business about? Who are you? And just basically tell us your elevator pitch in, say, a minute or less.
All right, so my name is Victor Daniyan. I'm the founder of Yourrider. And simple terms, Yourrider is an organization creating an enabling environment for electric vehicles and other assets.
Interesting. And how do they stand to benefit?
A couple of ways, right? Reduce costs in businesses, and also talking about it's being an environmental friendly product.
Absolutely interesting. Now, if somebody wants to connect with you, say, you know, to get your products, your services, how do they reach you?
Okay, so we have, first talking about the stations, we have them at any NNPC station. That's what we would scale to. Is that
nationwide?
Yes, nationwide, but we have just 10 at the moment. So I'll just say a few for Lagos. We have one at Ikoyi, NNPC Ikoyi. We have at Yaba. We have one close to Secretariat at Ikeja. We have at I think Alakpere, and a couple of more also in Abuja. We have at Wuse and a few other locations there.
Are you looking to expand to every NNPC station across the country?
Yes.
Over time, yes?
Yes, over time, sure.
And so what if somebody wants to reach you via social media, via your website, maybe a phone number? Would like to hear all of that.
Okay, sure. So on LinkedIn, my name is Victor Daniyan. You can just search for me. You see me on LinkedIn, founder, Nearpace, and also Yourrider. And then on Twitter, EIYIN on Twitter. Also, my phone number you can reach out to me easily is 081-3793-4199.
Could you take it once again, maybe a little slower?
Okay, sure. 081-3793-4199.
Awesome. Your website?
www.yourrider.com.
Yourrider.com. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. That's all we have time for. It's been really insightful talking to you. And thank you for sharing your journey, your experiences, and of course, your vision for the future and of your business. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We've been speaking to Victor Daniyan. He is the CEO of Yourrider. And that's all we have time for today on BrandsNow here on Radionow 95.3 FM Lagos. My name is George Natural Onwara. I will bring you another edition next week. Remember, you can always join us on social media at Radionow 953 FM everywhere on social media, except on Facebook, where it's www.facebook.com/This Is Radio Now. And that's also our website as well, www.thisisradionow.com. Just click on the Listen Live button and you can listen to us from wherever it is that you are on planet Earth. Oh yes, in case you'd like to watch this on YouTube, because it's also going to be on YouTube as well, it is at Radionow Studios on YouTube. Stay right here. More will definitely come your way. Why? Because at Radionow we go beyond the news.